Underused weapons in Battletech. That's the tactica that we're going to focus on in this vlog. Now, in exploring the inner sphere, we're going to push aside the clans for a moment. They're out there plotting, planning, but right now, the inner sphere is unaware of them. If we look at kind of this benchmark in Battletech, best weapon in the game, the medium laser, right? We have to balance out tonnage. On the lighter tonnage mechs, we explore weapons and ask the question, can it carry this weapon in the first place effectively? By effectively, I mean also having a reasonable balance for the tonnage of speed, engine size, and armor. Look, I can mount autocannon 20s on anything, but is there going to be room for anything else? So we look at tonnage on the lower levels. And on the higher level tonnage, can we mount multiples of this weapon and bring that force multiplier of redundancy and threat combined with heat, range, damage, and I would say cost if it's a campaign, or more likely battle value calculation. Because again, I can pack anything on anything, but just have an insane battle value where I'm outnumbered 3-1 before we even do anything. The medium laser. Heat, 5, good range, 5 damage, an effective weapon. No ammunition, good tonnage, average battle value. So if we look at that as the benchmark, where do we go up and where do we go down? As we start to move up, what we're looking for, of course, is not only additional damage, power output, but range. And we start to see this jump in terms of large lasers, PPCs, and even missile weapons. Yes, there's a difference in locations to hit between missile weapons, the spread, and laser, autocannons, things like that. But primarily, we're pushing the range and we're pushing the damage. Now, of course, as we get lower, we decrease the range, we decrease the damage, jump down to a small laser, and you say, well, what use is there really for a small laser? But at close range, for the weight, for the size, for the damage, it does what it's supposed to do. And on a side note for the narrative, just how destructive these weapons are, right? We tend to think just on mech versus mech and the ability to scratch off armor bubbles. So you're like, I want a PPC, I want large lasers, I want LRM 20 packs, autocannon 10s and 20s. A small laser is able to do a tremendous amount of damage in the narrative as it is. Underutilized weapons. Well, now we get to kind of specialized weapons. This idea of machine guns and flamethrowers. Flamers, usable against mechs, but primarily for scorched earth and destroying things, or against infantry. Playing the core rules, infantry is not always a concern, or I should say is not a concern. But when we jump to total warfare and start bringing in combined arms, having dedicated anti-infantry on a mech or options is important. You want to talk about scary? Take any type of mech. Take any type of mech and march it down city fight, city tech, a long roadway with buildings on each side with infantry hidden, embedded. 5, 6, 8 infantry stands. They're going to put the hurt on a medium. They're going to put the hurt on a heavy. A light mech, they might wipe out. So having the ability for flamers and machine guns, absolutely. Now, underutilized. Well, we're going to put aside specialized mechs for a moment. I mean, the Firestarter is an interesting machine, and I've pushed that up to the channel here under the Battletech playlist, Tactica. It has enough weapons where you fool yourself into thinking you're piloting a medium mech. It's got a nice spread of lasers and flamers. Because again, the tonnage for flamers really isn't much, so you can kind of pack both in. Challenge is, though, it's a light mech. It doesn't have the tonnage. It doesn't have the armor to stand up to that. But what we see here is the Firestarter. Yeah, you could zap with the lasers, but its primary thing is to burn down forests, deal with infantry, burn down buildings, and flush things out. So are those weapons underutilized? They're specialized, and dedicated machine guns, they're kind of specialized from that perspective. Underutilized. The two weapons that I see that are underutilized, and then, of course, flipping it out to mech command, how can we utilize these things? Small lasers, which we explored, and autocannon 2s. Fritz, your favorite mech is the Blackjack. Yes, autocannon 2s for the win. But it also has a brace of medium lasers, which is why we started with the medium lasers. The autocannon 2, tremendous range, 2 points of damage. Are you going to get depressed thinking about plinking away at a stalker? Well, it's not there to take down a stalker. Is that really a fair comparison based on tonnage, a medium versus a top-tier, heavily armored, really effective assault mech? The autocannon 2s, I feel, are underutilized because the extreme range and the ability just to put some damage down on the table. I'm not saying take autocannon 2s and spam them out, but an interesting spam thing would be, on a side note, partisan tanks. Quad autocannons for low battle value, kind of okay armor. You pack a pair of 2 of those or 3 for the battle value, park them somewhere, and just let them rip. I mean, it's crazy. You know, partisan is primarily anti-air, but on a ground target, it's effective. There was a game where I had 2 pairs of 2, so 4 of them, parked on a hill, and I put them on the hill because they had wide range to a variety of entry points on the map. And this was Inner Sphere versus clans. I'm playing Inner Sphere. I'm thinking, okay, the clans are going to come in. It was a city fight. They're going to come in on the left. They're going to come on the right. I deploy kind of center, left and right. Naturally, refused flank. Clans deploy in one area. Those partisans put massive hurt on the clan mechs. Just massive hurt for the battle value. I mean, it was crazy. They almost took out a vulture. It was just absolutely fantastic, unseen. So from that perspective, yes, the ability to reach out with range is important. But autocannon 2, not a lot of damage. Well, sometimes you put damage down if you have range. Yes, I want range. I want long range. I want massive damage. I want low battle value. I want low heat. That's called playing the clans, right? Inner Sphere, the tech is advanced, but there's concessions that we need to make. The autocannon 2, you start firing at vehicles at long range. It's underutilized. Start chewing up motive hits. You start firing at anti-air because I'm probably not going to hit them in the first place. Do I want to waste that damage potential? I'd rather take that damage potential against a better target to hit. I'd rather zap something with a PPC. But if I hit you with the autocannon 2, maybe pilot check, maybe a rotor hit, maybe a crit. Likewise, just putting some damage on some mechs, finding out what's going on, finding out what you want to do, what you're thinking about doing. I think it's very, very underutilized. Second to this, small lasers. I don't say machine guns because they're specialized, they're ammo dependent. Often that ammo explodes if you push the heat, although you should have better heat discipline than that, or more likely crits. But a small laser, no ammo for the battle value. When you get up there to zap, especially if it's close range, especially if it's brawling type range, it's just a little bit more damage, but they're effective crit seekers. When we get to mid to late game and everyone's guts are hanging out and things are sparking and smoking, the punch and the potential of a small laser really, really excels. So in terms of weapons that are underutilized, I think from a mech command perspective, I would vote for small lasers and autocannon 2s.